Hey everybody, this is Tom Grisak. I am so pleased to be here with the Lovejoy's new superintendent. This is Katie Kordel. And Katie, it's so nice to have you. I'll give a little history on Katie in just a second. And I'm also here with Alice Robison. Alice is one of our great agents. And I've asked her to sit in because she's not only passionate about Lovejoy, she's got kids in Lovejoy, and she's got some questions for Katie too. So first, let me start off by saying it's kind of been a whirlwind experience for you, I'm sure. 3 months ago, you probably had no idea this was coming. When did they first contact you?
Well, there was the interview process that I went through in May.
Okay.
So I had hopes of being here. I have long admired Lovejoy ISD, both as a parent and as an educator. All of my career has either been in Allen ISD or Frisco ISD, and so I'm very familiar with the area. And so when this opportunity became available, I was so excited to put my hat in the ring, and was even more impressed with the district as I went through the process, and was so excited to receive the privilege of serving in this capacity.
And my sister actually knew you when you were in Frisco. I think you were head of the secondary curriculum.
I was head of the secondary curriculum, and your sister Patsy is incredible, an incredible
Yes,
educator.
she really is.
And that was about 20 years ago, I think, that we
Wow.
originally connected. But she is absolutely outstanding, and I've had the privilege of working with some incredible people over the time. But yes, in Frisco, I had the opportunity. I was actually over the pre-K-12 curriculum.
Oh, okay. And my sister said that Katie is the smartest person she's ever met. So that's pretty high praise coming from my sister.
She's
met a lot of
incredible.
people. So first, I want to find out. I don't know much about your past. Where did you grow up? Where were you born? Where did you go to college? Tell us about your kids and everything.
Thank you for asking that. I actually grew up in Illinois. I'm from Joliet, Illinois. My mother is actually a retired high school English teacher. One of my brothers actually teaches at the school that she retired from. So I have a number of educators in my family, but grew up in Joliet, Illinois. I went to college at Southern Illinois University.
Okay.
Where
Carbondale?
Carbondale, yes,
Yeah.
yes. The Salukis, not a lot of people know what
Yeah,
a Saluki
I
is.
do.
I think that's a
Let us
sports
know.
trivia question. So anybody who watches this is now going to be able to win sports trivia.
Yeah.
It is an Egyptian dog. So.
Oh, no, I didn't know
yeah.
that.
A Saluki.
Okay.
Yes. But they had a great teacher preparation program, and my undergraduate degree is in biology, and it's in the middle of the Shawnee National Forest. So a beautiful, wonderful place to go to college. I met my husband, Jeff, there. He had just been serving 5 years in the United States Marine Corps.
Oh,
and
fantastic.
so
I
he
didn't
was
know
a
that.
freshman coming in, and I was a sophomore, and met him, and the rest is kind of history. We've been married for 22 years.
Good for you.
We have 2 children, Jacob and Claire. They are twins, 8.5 years old, and they will be going to Puster Elementary
Nice.
in August. And they are very excited about being leopards. So I have my master's degree in educational administration, and I also have additional hours beyond that for my superintendent certification. So I did that all here in Texas. Jeff and I have lived in Texas our entire married life. So for 22 years we've lived here, and it's been a phenomenal experience. As I said, I've worked for Allen ISD, I've worked for Frisco ISD in a number of positions, but it's been a great place to be an educator, and absolutely a great place to be a parent.
And where did you go to school here in Texas?
I went to A&M Commerce for my master's degree.
Okay, yeah, that's where Aaron Hickman, one of our agents, is from.
Yes.
Oh, excellent,
Used to be
excellent.
called ETSU,
Uh-huh.
right? So-
Well, and I have actually deep Texas roots. My father's mother, my grandmother, was born and raised in Gainesville, Texas.
Oh,
And so
okay.
the little house she grew up in is still there, and my dad used to come visit Gainesville in the summers, and so he thinks he's a Texan. He gets really excited every time he gets to come visit, because it
Yeah.
reminds him of his childhood summers.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, I guess when they contacted you, was it a surprise for you? Did you have any idea? I don't know how that process works. Do they just Have they been talking to you just kind of, if this position ever opens up, we'd like to talk to you? Or was it just completely out of the blue?
It's a very official process that, and that's typical, where there is kind of a third party that facilitates that process.
Okay. So you were recruited by the third party.
Right. So I submitted
gotcha.
my application.
Right.
There's a multi-level interview process and a lot of vetting that goes on. And so throughout the interview process, I just found that it was a greater and greater fit. It's very unusual in an interview process to feel so comfortable, right? And just feel like it's a fit, feel, really excited about what's being shared and that there's deep alignment between those core values. And so as it went on, I felt that stronger, which probably made, the desire for it to want to happen that much stronger. Right. So I can't say that I can't say that I was, surprised. I was ecstatic, I would say, to have the opportunity and the privilege.
Well, my son went through Lovejoy, so we're big fans. Our business revolves around Lovejoy. Because probably 90% of the people that move out here are coming here for Lovejoy ISD, and probably 90% of the sellers that we have, the kids are gone, and now they're moving and downsizing out of Lovejoy ISD. So I've been a Lovejoy homer for many years now, and it's got such a great tradition. And if you don't know a lot about Lovejoy, it's a perennial top 3 school district in Texas. It always seems to be Highland Park, Carroll, and Lovejoy. And then what's this district in Austin? There's one in Austin.
There's an Eanes probably that sometimes makes the list.
Yeah, they've been doing well, but that speaks so highly of this district to be able to keep that tradition. When the ratings were done by exemplary or acceptable, whatever, Lovejoy has never had any of their schools anything less than the highest rating by the Texas Education Agency, which is the one that issues those ratings. And if you go to, what's it called, schooldeer.com, or you'll always find Lovejoy up there at the top. So it's a tremendous tradition, and we are thrilled to have you because we know you're gonna take it to another level. Although you had more challenges than I think than any superintendent we've ever had by far. So that's where we're gonna kind of start. When you came over here, have you already identified the areas that you think you need to start with first, and if so, what are those?
Absolutely. We do have some challenges, but I think all of the challenges can be addressed strategically. It's about making sure that we're proactive, that we're transparent, and that we're really collaborating to make sure we're in deep alignment about what we want to see for our kids and what it means to safeguard our district's future. And so all the elements are there to make sure that we get to that place together, and there are so many, as you mentioned, so many incredible strengths that we have on our side. In terms of priorities, I would say one is making sure we very much support and continue the legacy of excellence that you were talking about in Lovejoy ISD. This is a phenomenal district. We have some traditions here. We have some practices here that very much support and are essential to that excellence. And so we need to make sure that we are having conversations about what those are as stakeholders, as parents, as staff members, with our students, so that we make sure that we retain those things. We also need to make sure that we are supporting our students in being future ready. That is our central responsibility and central mission, to make sure we are preparing our students for their future. So providing an education that is rich in experiences and opportunity, that gives our students deep, meaningful learning, that not only build the academic skills and knowledge that they need for their future, but also build the personal attributes and strengths that are going to make them successful in any context.
Is this like the scholar profile, the 6 pillars?
Absolutely, it would include our graduate profile, absolutely, and it would include a mindset as well that we know the way we live, the way we work, it's changing. So the way we learn has to change as well if we want to make sure the education we provide is relevant. We are also very much focused on financial sustainability. A financial shortfall and financial challenges cannot become part of our story.
Right.
That's not who we are as a school system.
Right.
That may be a problem or a challenge that we're facing and that we're having to work through together, but that is not part of our identity. And so the more that we're proactive about that and strategic and put some of those processes and systems in place, we make sure that those things are taken care of so that
Right.
we can recruit, retain, and support
Right.
the best possible
Right.
staff to work with our kiddos. And then it's not something that we, need to be having an annual
Right.
conversation about.
Right.
Yep.
And let me say this too, every school district is going through having some of these pains. More kids are staying home, and of course the districts are paid by the amount of kids that are in school. COVID is, and it may come back, there may be another version of it coming back. So it's not just Lovejoy. So that's one of the challenges that the district has. Also, this is a property wealthy district, and that affects us in a couple of ways. First, we don't have the funding that the other districts do because they, in their mind, well, they don't need it. That's a property wealthy district. But also, it's so expensive to live out here. Homes are so expensive that we don't have that migration of as many first-time home buyers with young kids as you're going to find in other areas. So we're kind of hit in 2 or 3 different ways.
We are.
And I don't think there's anything we can do about either one of those two. We just have to work within it. So, what's your prediction on the amount of students coming back? Will it be percentage-wise? What do you think it will be?
We are very much focused on that, and as you identified, that's a challenge throughout the state, and frankly, that's a challenge throughout the nation. There are students that they've said that are missing. They're not really missing. They're students that have unenrolled from their public school,
Right.
either to be homeschooled, to go into a private setting because of the pandemic. The families, for whatever reason, decided to make that change, and so we are very much focused on making sure we reconnect with any of the students that decided not to be
Right.
with us.
When you
throughout
say
the pandemic.
reconnect, how do you do that?
Well, we have their information because they were a
Right.
previous student, reaching out to parents and saying, hey, you coming back to
So
Georgia? We
you
would
actually
love to
are
have
calling,
you.
you're actually calling, okay.
And so
I didn't know that.
we'll do some research, and then we'll also back to school activities, right? Hyping that up, giving opportunities for our parents and our kids to come back together and refamiliarize themselves with
Right.
with our campus and with our district. Making sure that we are welcoming them with open arms.
What kind of response are you receiving from the parents?
We are receiving a pretty good response. Now
Okay.
it's still in the middle of summer, right?
Right,
We're in
exactly.
July, we're in vacation zone here.
Yeah.
And so as the summer goes on, I anticipate there'll be more and more contact. But people, very rightfully so, both parents and students as well as staff members, people are taking a much needed break,
Yeah.
getting rejuvenated
Right.
for the start of the school
Right.
year. But we are confident that we're going to be on track. We would like to see our enrollment be about 4,300 students, and
Okay.
I think we're tracking that direction.
Good. And Alice, I know you've got some questions. I'm gonna let you ask those, but I wanna ask just a couple more before I forget.
Yeah.
The first one is, the last I heard, there were 250 students was the number of out-of-district students that were going to be allowed. And by the way, what is really amazing about this district is, parents with kids that are out of the district have been able in the past to pay tuition, which for a public school, to me, that's just, it's hard for me to believe, but as much as $12,000 a year. And the state, in its infinite wisdom, said, no, you can't do that anymore. So we can't do that, but still, we are bringing in students from out of the district. And what is that number? And the students that are already here, are they grandfathered in? And then also, is there any type of testing for the students that are brought in?
There's definitely a review process. And so actually, the legislative session, as you mentioned, there were some bills on the table about not being able to charge for enrollment. As it ended up, and the school district couldn't wait to find out where that was going to end up, because that was only a couple weeks ago, right? That we found out where that was going to land. And so the district had to be proactive in communicating to parents whether there was going to be tuition or not. And actually, that legislation did not pass, and so it's still allowable. However, you mentioned we are actually funded on the number of students that we have that are in attendance. And so being able to up that number of transfer students and not have the tuition associated with that is actually likely going to end up in our financial favor. And each
good.
one of those students is reviewed individually.
Okay.
Their academics are reviewed, their attendance, their previous discipline is reviewed. So
good.
those are reviewed on
I
an
know that's a
individual
big
basis.
concern, discipline especially. We've got such a smooth running, every district had little problems, but we've got such a smooth running district. We just want to make sure everybody coming in has the same goals. You know, parents are so active in this. You'll find the support here is unbelievable. I don't know how it compares with Allen or Frisco, but I can tell you, everybody's out here for the same reason. It's a very tight-knit community, and everybody is wanting Lovejoy to succeed. So
Absolutely.
you'll believe me, you'll probably be surprised at some of the support you get. Okay, I'll go ahead.
Well,
What's some
and
of the
on that
questions?
note, what does the process look like for these families that are wanting to transfer their students? I mean, because we're even seeing on our side, the inventory is low in our district and time is running out to get in before school starts. And there's people who want to enroll their children
Yes.
in Lovejoy. So what would that process look like for them to apply for
Right.
this and potentially have that for a year while they
Absolutely.
figure it out?
They can go to our website and all of that is outlined there. There is an application packet that they need to fill out. And again, it'll have that information that they need to submit into
Okay.
some kind of previous educational records. And so they would work with their current school district on that to make sure we have those to review. We have some waiting lists at some grade levels that are pretty extensive. And then we have some grade levels, particularly at the levels 5 through 12, where there's still some openings. And so I would encourage them, regardless of the level, take a look at that, reach out to us. Stacy Dillon is the primary contact on that. She is fabulous and will
Amazing.
be happy to answer any questions that they have and walk them through the process.
Okay, that's great. We'll put her contact information up and
Right.
for them
So-
to reach out to.
So is 350, is that the number though that I'm hearing? Is that correct?
That would be the maximum number.
Okay.
What's interesting is we're really looking at an overall number of enrollment at a little over 4,300, where our revenue from the students will align with our budgetary planning,
Okay.
right? So the number of if the number of students in our zone goes up and we have more of those students enrolled, then we need less transfer students,
Okay.
right? And
Right.
kind of vice
Right,
versa.
right.
And so those numbers can kind of flux a little bit, max of 350, but if there are more zoned Lovejoy ISD students that are in those numbers, then the number of
Okay.
transfers that are needed are not as high.
Okay. Alice, go
Okay.
ahead.
Well, okay, so in the community, there's been some switching around in your position, and I know that we would like to feel secure that there's some stability here, and that the superintendent position is going to be filled long-term. And what is your plan?
She wants you
for
to
that?
promise.
I
Yeah.
want you- I want
Well,
you to pinky promise.
that I will pinky promise with you, Alice. I'm here and I want to be here. I have 2 children that are in the 3rd grade. My goal in my heart is to be here long term. I want to make a deep difference. I want to know the kids. I want to know the families. I want to watch the kids grow and flourish and support them in that. I shared this with the school board in the interview process. I would love nothing more than these kindergarten kiddos that are coming in for me to be there and shake their hand when they cross
Yes.
that stage as
Great.
a leper graduating, and then I can go to some graduation parties and then retire at that point.
Good
But
plan.
I want to be here.
So
and
we're
I want to be
talking
here.
12 years, I'm
Yes,
guessing.
I would.
14 if they go pre-K.
Right, I would
minimum.
love that. This is the kind of community that you want to be in and you
Yeah,
want
I
to
agree.
stay in.
Yes.
I agree.
And that was what was so desirable. This is the only district I wanted to be in that
Good.
role, because you do hear about superintendents in other districts and there being a lot of turnover, and
Right.
that frankly is the least appealing thing to me about the superintendency, because
Yeah,
those
good.
relationships and that stability are so
Okay.
important.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you mentioned the board, and I know that when we had this interview with the interim superintendent, there was kind of this promise that the communication plan for the next school year between the board and the community would be, there would be one in place that's a little bit more obvious, that the community members wouldn't have to go dig and search for meeting notes. It would be more like, what is your plan around
Right.
that? Will it be easy for us to see if we can't attend the meetings? Will we know what's going on? Because I know that we all felt a little blindsided last year a couple of times. and we don't want that to happen again. This, you know, we like to be in the know. It's a very educated community. It's a very, there's a lot of
They're
help.
plugged in.
It's a
right?
plugged in
Absolutely.
community, and there's a lot of people willing to provide their help and their expertise, and I know we all felt a little in the dark. So, well, when I say we, I don't speak for everyone, but this is just the general rumors that I hear. And so if there is a communication plan in place, what is it?
Right, that is a great question, and I am committed to proactive communication and transparency. Something very tangible I can share that is part of that plan is actually at the meeting where I was officially named as superintendent. Later on in that meeting, I brought forward our board calendar for the 21-22 school year, and it had some noticeable changes on that. So what I recommended to the board was we implement a process of board workshops and then regular board meetings each month. So having a board workshop that precedes a board meeting, ideally 2 weeks before the board meeting, so that we are able to share information publicly. The board is able to ask those questions publicly. We were able to, vet issues. And so that way, when we get to that regular board meeting where there is the time for an official vote to be taken, the community is aware that this is going on and this is happening. And additionally, because the community, will have an awareness of what's going on at that workshop, if there are questions or concerns the community has, after receiving some of that information, prior to that, regular board meeting, they're able to reach out and we're able to have a dialogue and conversation, and vet through some of those things. And so that would just be one tangible example of some of the changes we are already putting in place.
Okay, good.
Can I ask you a question? When people, I can't imagine your position. You're trying to learn everything. You're trying to, meet all the people. You've got so much that you're trying to do. When people email you, do you? That could be overwhelming.
Right. Yeah.
How do you handle it if there's constant phone calls and emails? How do you take care of that?
I think that is one of the most important things we do, right? Is that personal communication.
Yeah.
And so if somebody reaches out, I'm going to do my very best to respond to them, whether that be by email, whether that be by phone, whether that be by text. And I want to be very proactive about that. If there's a concern and, I'm hearing there's a concern, I will pick up the phone and call. I've also made my cell phone public and would encourage any community member, any stakeholder that has a question, a concern.
15 years ago.
Well, I can personally say you are very approachable and attainable. Sometimes you feel like a superintendent is just, I can't go to the very top. I'm going to have to start down here. And that is not the impression that I have personally received from you, which I think it will be very well received in the community.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's very important to me that I'm accessible. I mean, if our community has a question or concern, that's important to me. If they're concerned about it, I'm concerned enough to want to have a conversation.
Okay. Well, and on that concern, then another rumor that is floating around the community is that critical race theory is going to be added to the curriculum next year. Is it true? And if it is, at what grade levels is that being introduced?
Well, we do not teach critical race theory, and there are no plans to implement critical race theory. We will not be implementing critical race theory. We had no plans before the legislature, took action on that, but they actually, put some legislation in place for all Texas school districts that says that's not something that can be taught, right? So it's not even legally allowable. However, whether that was going to be in place or not, that was never part of our plans.
Okay, and I had known about that, but I thought it was up to the districts to decide. I didn't realize that Texas as a state had said that this is not even legal to teach.
Right, and there actually is going to be a special session that's starting here shortly, and I think there are some plans for that to be further addressed in the special session. So we'll see.
Okay, well, you put an end to that.
That's the rumor that I just keeps going around, and rumors they get started and then they're passed, they get they just get blown out of proportion.
Right. So. It's one of the great things about being in a community is that we are so all very close knit and tight, but that's also how a rumor it can spread like wildfire too when it's a close and tight knit community.
This is such an important topic, and it goes back to why I've put my cell phone out there. When those rumors start floating, it's you want people to come to us and get the information so we can provide clarification, because what I don't want to have happen is that it causes some people anxiety or stress, or it's something that they're worrying about, something that they don't necessarily need to be worrying about. And so that's why I think that two-way communication is so critical.
Yeah. And what can the parents do for you? I mean, I've always thought that, the 4 keys, I would think parents, teachers, administration, and students. So what can the parents do besides all the things that they already do, like fundraisers, Denim and Diamonds, things like that? What's the best way they can help you?
Well, one thing I want our parents to know is how much I value them. Our parents are our ultimate partner in the education of their child. Nobody knows their child better than the parent, and so we want to have a deep partnership. And that partnership, I want to be in partnership with them, but in truth, the most important partnership a parent can have is with their child's teacher, right? And those folks that are working directly with their student, and having that open line of two-way communication. So the parent has the information that they need to, do what they need to do, but then also that our staff has that communication and support to best serve the student. And so continuing to communicate with and support our staff in the important work that they do each day. And serving the kiddos, I think is, really important for our parents to know. Our parents are phenomenal.
Yes.
They have just, I have been embraced and just in awe of the level of support. I've had a number of connection events. It was important for me right after, I was officially named, that I made myself available to anyone that might want to personally meet me. And the number of parents that came out and brought their students, it was really incredible. And there were a group of parents that said, how can we help? And oh my goodness, they set up refreshments and set up activities for the kids. And so, I mean, what an incredible place. That doesn't happen everywhere.
It's a great parent base, but it's also a really great, the parents are great for a reason, because it's such a great district. And I've had situations with both of my children in the district where I really feel like the teachers and the staff at their school have been advocates for him, principals personally following up with me, checking in with me. And it's just, every child matters, and they want to bring out the strengths of every child. And my children are 2 completely different children, and both of them have flourished and been corrected when needed to be corrected, been applauded when doing the right thing. There's a reason the parents give back so much, because we get so much out of it. And it is and moving up here, a lot of the reason I moved up here was for the school district, but it's the community in itself that is just so amazing. Everyone is a leopard. Everyone wears red and black. Everyone has the same sign in their yard. Where I moved from in Dallas, there was a different private school sign, or even the public schools, people would feed out to different ones. There just wasn't that community feel.
Fairview's about 8,000 people, and Lucas is about 8,000 too. So, but not all of Fairview is in Lovejoy, and not all. In fact, there's 6 different school districts in Lucas. One of those is Lovejoy. There are 2 different school districts in Fairview. One of the things that I was amazed at when Jason first started school, it must have been 3rd or 4th grade. They needed someone to run some copies for one of the teachers. She was kind of overwhelmed, so they put out a call, and I'm not sure how they did it. And by the time Rhonda tried so many times, she would call and they said it's already been filled.
It's already taken.
Yeah,
Meet the teacher night, if you don't get there early enough, it's gone. Room parent is gone. You might be able to get you photo taker at events if you want a position, but
and you'll be parking in the grass way out someplace.
You have to apply to be on the field trips to be one of the sponsors, because in some other school districts you're fishing for people. Anybody wants a position.
Totally.
And here you're turning people down almost.
These are great problems to have.
Okay, last question. We went over this the last meeting, and everybody knows it. Why I think we had to do it, but when they closed this school down, the original, in fact, we're in the original Little Red School, which people called it, I think 1923, if I'm not mistaken. That's when this school was built and started, and it's still, they kept it, and I'm glad they did. Now it's the administration building, but the school that was attached to here, the original Lovejoy Elementary, they've closed down for regular classes. And what's it being used for now?
It will be an early childhood center. which is going to be great to be able to have that in our district. It obviously very difficult getting here, and wouldn't, ever want, the staff or the parents or students to have to, experience that pain to get us here. Unfortunately, we were in a situation of where we had 3 elementary schools that were operating at 60% or below
just
capacity.
doesn't make fiscal sense.
You're right, and it just doesn't make fiscal sense. That's not efficient when we talk about good steward of taxpayer dollars and being able to have that financial sustainability and health. And so that decision had to be made to safeguard our future. And so the Lovejoy Elementary students, as everybody knows, will be going to Hart and to Custer. And what we're doing with this space here is going to allow us to do some things in regard to our early childhood services, both from a sense of students that we're required to serve, but then also we're going to be able to open up some revenue generation options where we've got some daycare options for students or children in our community or in surrounding communities as well.
So by daycare, that's something that's a full school day, not necessarily a Mother's Day Out program. It's a full school day, and it's open to anyone, not just children of teachers in the district.
Absolutely. So it would be open to anyone. They don't even need to be a Lovejoy ISD, in our zone, in our attendance zone, and that would be for infants through 4th grade. And the teachers that work with those students have a high level of training, high level of experience, and they have been working with our employees' children, for years. And to have this program here is pretty incredible, and we hope to really see that grow over time.
Good.
It's our intention.
Good.
And you said something that reminded me, our CFO that we had for 20 years, I believe, retired, correct?
She did not retire. She actually is going to Little Elm ISD.
Oh, she
to be
is?
their CFO. Yes. And
Okay.
she started her career there.
Okay, so what is the plan? Have we replaced that position?
We are in progress.
Okay.
We have just finished up the interview process this week.
Okay.
And so we should have an announcement on that very soon.
Okay.
Is that the same process as you went through, or is it same mechanics of the way you were brought in? Do you have to go through the same steps that you went through, but other than interviewing?
And
Right.
training.
Yeah.
Right. There's not the third party
Okay.
involved, and so
Okay.
I facilitate that process. But
Okay.
there is the process, right, with
Okay.
the the interviews and the vetting
Okay.
and,
Right.
and all that, because it's so important that we make sure that
Right.
whoever we
Right.
bring on board really aligns with our core values and has the skills and the experience. Well, absolutely, we want to have somebody that has the skills and experiences, right, first and foremost, and the expertise in their areas of responsibility. And then we want somebody that is committing to serving students, right? They're going to put students first, whether they're in the business office or whether they're making curriculum decisions. They have to be about making decisions with our kids in mind first. We also want somebody who's a learner, right? That's continually curious, that wants to get better at what they do. Someone that is an excellent team member, that is going to collaborate, right?
Sounds like an agent.
Right.
Right?
I was thinking
That's
the same
exactly
thing.
what
You
we're
have to
looking for.
constantly be willing to grow. You can never
Yeah.
master anything.
Absolutely. And somebody that's focused on results, someone that's going to hold themselves accountable and hold us accountable for our results rather than just our intentions.
And they're going to need some thick skin too, because
Yeah.
they're going to get a lot of finger pointing if things don't.
Yeah. Superintendent, no matter how good you are, there's always going to be arrows shot at you.
Yes.
And it takes a certain type of person to be able to handle that. And my sister was very confident. She said she's very confident of herself and her skills, and she's very diplomatic about handling things. So I think you're going to just do great. And Ted, how long was Ted Moore here? Do you remember how many years?
He finished his tenure when I was here. But I was
20
here for the
years. I think it was at
beginning,
least
over-
20 years he was here. So hopefully you'll end up here.
And I
as
have to
long
say,
as-
the energy up here, because we are right dead smack in the middle of summer, and I had to park. I couldn't get a front row parking. And there is a hustle and a bustle, and I can tell that you guys are working hard, and getting things ready for the year, and you can feel it when you walk in these doors. It's exciting, and it's exciting to be on campus too, because we couldn't for over a year as parents. It's just exciting to be back in the mix of it.
Oh, this is wonderful. I'm just getting to be with each other, to see each other's smiles, and then have the anticipation and the hope that comes with the beginning of a school year. That is one of the most exciting things as an educator. It never gets old. You know, kind of the planning, anticipation, and hope, and the unfolding.
And then all the
of a
kids start
beginning,
marching
right?
in.
Yeah,
That must be a really
And you just see it happen, right? The first thing that happens, the central office comes back and is together, and then our campus, our staff, our teachers start coming back, and the excitement all builds until that culmination of that first day when the kiddos join us, and we can't wait for that. And particularly with COVID and last year being such a strange year, we're ready for this, and we're excited.
Everybody is.
Yes.
Well, I know you're so busy, and I really thank you so much for spending the time to talk with us. Now I feel like I know you better, and I think people that watch this will understand how pleased a lot of people are that you joined us. So it was very nice of you to sit down with us.
Oh, absolutely.
Appreciate your time.
And thank you,
Anytime.
Alice, too, for sitting down.
Thank you.
I appreciate you all. I'm so glad to be here.